On the other hand, people are wondering if U.S. President Trump will just maintain the status quo with Israel and the Middle East. But as CBN News' Wendy Griffin asked Joel Rosenberg, Middle East expert, he says that U.S.-Israel relations are better than ever.
Some on the right are concerned that after a tremendous start with President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, that it seems like things might be returning to the status quo. There was talk about immediately moving the embassy to Jerusalem. That seems like it's on the back burner. And now there's been a phone call between President Trump and Palestinian Prime Minister, is it Prime Minister?
President. Yeah.
President Mahmoud Abbas. So there's, what is your take on this? Are things going back to the status quo?
I think that's a bit of hyperventilating about, which seems a little odd. You have the best U.S.-Israeli relationship in 8 years, arguably longer. It seems a little out there to say that suddenly it's all gone back. Look, the President of the United States should be talking to the Palestinians as well as the Israelis, of course. But who was the first regional leader for the president to meet with? It was Prime Minister Netanyahu. There's a very warm relationship. The president has appointed very strong pro-Israel people around him. Vice President Mike Pence is a friend of mine. Couldn't be more pro-Israel than Mike Pence. I mean, that guy is rock solid. So I think that's a little huffing and puffing. Look, the president needs a good working relationship with the King of Jordan, with the President of Egypt, with the Palestinian leaders. I don't know that the president can get what he wants. He wants a full Palestinian-Israeli peace deal. God bless him.
Every president does.
Everybody does, and he is the guy who's the art of the deal. But I just, but he should be talking to them and honoring the Palestinian people who really are in a very difficult spot, honestly.
Let's talk about the Iran nuclear deal.
Sure.
President Trump has inherited that.
Yes, he has.
He said he's going to do away with it. What's your take? How do you think Trump will handle that?
No, he actually has never said, not in the campaign and since, that he would rip up the deal. That was Rubio, that was Cruz, that was everybody else. But he said, look, once you make the deal, it's done. You're ripping up the deal with the Russians and the French and the British and everybody else. I would rip it up. I mean, instinctively. But his point is, we've got to now figure out how to enforce it. His point is, if Iran violates, then you start dealing with the violations, because the whole thing unravels if Iran violates it, right? So that's the president's approach. And a big part of Netanyahu's meetings with Trump was, how do we begin to navigate the monitoring Iran, and then what's the policy, both for the United States, for Israel, and our regional allies, once these, because Iran is already violating it.
Yeah.
And in certain ways, the ballistic missile launches and the tests, they're not part of the Iran nuclear deal, but they are part of other UN resolutions that say they can't test those types of missiles. So this is a big test coming for the president. How am I going to deal with Iran and make sure they don't become an enormous existential threat to Israel and the Saudis and everybody else in the region, and not a threat to the United States?